Hi. Hey there. Yeah, it's been a minute. I've been really busy. Fortunately, Utah, we got all of our snow last week and it wasn't as cold as in some places in the US right now. Um, we're going to be a hot 37 degrees or so tomorrow. Um, I just wanted to check in. I've been keeping really busy even though I was kind of snowed out of work. Um, and lost quite a few hours last week and this week. I've had plenty to do. And I've been meaning to get on and talk about a number of things, but I wanted to start. I don't know where today's talk will go, but thanks for being here if you're watching another one of my rants. Um, so I wanted to read this letter addressed to President Joe Biden on December 19th, 2022. Today's December 23rd. So I just read this today, and it's addressed to President Joe Biden. It has been nearly 3 years since the federal government has declared a national emergency in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. While the virus will be with us for some time, the emergency phase of the pandemic is behind us. We have come so far since the beginning of the pandemic. We now have the tools and information necessary to help protect our communities from COVID 19. You recognized this yourself in a 60 Minutes interview in September when you said, "The pandemic is over." Additionally, the United States Senate passed a bipartisan Resolution 61 to 37 to terminate the national emergency on November 15th, 2022. We agree with both your statement and the Senate's resolution. It is time we move on from the pandemic and get back to life as normal. On top of the national emergency, the federal public health emergency has been extended until at least January 11th, 2023. Since states have not received notice, the PHE will expire in January. We are acting under the assumption that it will be renewed for 90 days and expire in April 2023, unless it is extended again. We ask that you allow the PHE to expire in April and provide states with much needed certainty well in advance of its expiration. The PHE is negatively affecting states primarily by artificially growing our population covered under Medicaid, both traditional and expanded populations, regardless of whether individuals continue to be eligible under the program. While the enhanced federal match provides some assistance to blunt the increasing costs due to higher enrollment numbers in our Medicaid programs, states are required to increase our non federal match to adequately cover all enrollees and cannot disenroll members from the program unless they do so voluntarily. Making the situation worse, we know that a considerable number of individuals have returned to employer sponsored coverage or are receiving coverage through the individual market, and yet states still account and pay for their Medicaid enrollment in our non federal share. This is costing states hundreds of millions of dollars. Since the beginning of the pandemic, states have added 20 million individuals. Yeah, that's right. 20 million individuals to the Medicaid rolls, an increase of 30%. And those numbers continue to climb as the PHE continues to be extended every 90 days. We urge you to end the national emergency and the PHE in April and provide states notice of those intentions well in advance to allow us to adequately plan for the future. Sincerely, the 25 governors of New Hampshire, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Commonwealth of Virginia, Wyoming. So, Oh boy, thanks for being here, CJ. I'm so excited that you're here with me. I just wanted to read that somewhat for archival purposes, because that's one part of this video journal that I'm trying to track in my scattered away, is just the passing of the time and what's happening in our world and how that just affects me and my thinking. So yeah, I'm just always so grateful that there's anyone that would watch this. And CJ's been a really good supporter of my lives, so that is amazing. But yeah, I don't always align with Republican politics, but yeah, I tend to agree that um, we need to do some forensic accounting. And it's funny when we compare like our own finances to that of these nations, that just pass these huge budget numbers. Um, and it's choking people, and we're just getting bombarded left and right. And so I'm trying to keep my head above water and stay positive as usual. But I am observant, and I know I sound like a dingbat out here, unprepared and uneducated, but you know, I'm going for authenticity and an attempt to always be improving myself. And I was thinking about this, when I was younger, I was very ambitious, but never focused enough. And I always felt like, I was sprinting around and I would just burn out too easily. So the last few years, about the last 15 years, I've been focused more on being conscientious of um, the slow, measured progress, and I want to have big dreams, but it's like, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time? And so I've been trying to take things in stride and just really be appreciative of um, the challenges in life, because uh, we can overcome them, and sometimes things feel insurmountable. But um, I love the times when I'm forced to dig deep and see what I got left. And that was the part of growing up as a competitive swimmer that I was always able to do. Um, I wasn't necessarily competing with the people in the lanes next to me. I never had that sense of competition really, but I had a desire to do the best that I could do. Um, and then I just started to realize how I would burn myself out, and I needed to learn how to say no sometimes. Um, so if that feels good going into my 40s, just around the corner, I I just want to keep things in perspective and just really appreciate that consistency can you know be so much better than being the hero all the time, right? But anyway, that's what I've been thinking about. So, I'm not sure what else I wanted to talk about. I've titled tonight "Drinking with Dogs" because um, I my whole life I've kind of despised the idea of the good old boys club, and so I've never really um, identified myself with, like, anything on the Republican side of the aisle, but, um, I guess I've been going through this transition where, um, I am becoming more aware of being a little more practical and the need for that, and I've been listening to so many different points of view just to kind of, uh, keep me in check, with whatever stuff I parrot, um, or, the things that, like, I just kind of get, susceptible to, like, influence, and so it's, like, trying to keep myself in check with, "Okay, where was I just buying into nonsense?" Or where were my criticisms legit, or where did I need to look at it from a different angle? So, I'm really focused on that, always, and, I I have a book that I got from, um my friend's dad wrote this book, and it's a Christian novel, a Christian historical novel, and I just started it, but I thought it was kind of cool because it gives some context to, at least one man's perspective with his faith, with his interpretations of, um, the Bible as, historical records, theology, and I've always been interested in that because my, upbringing was very fractured in many ways, my parents getting divorced when I was young, um, and my mom kind of, uh, evolving herself and not bringing us to church until I was about 10 years old, and then we started going to different churches in Orlando and had a lot of classmates and friends that their parents worked for Campus Crusade for Christ, or they went to, um, you know, one mega church or another. When we moved back to Utah, my mom went through the same thing of exploring different churches in the Salt Lake Valley, and um, we ended up going to a version of Lutheran Church, um, the ELCA, which was different version than my grandfather went to, which, was the more traditional conservative Lutheran church in town. So this book, Lazarus by David Fisher, um, not only is it one of my longest friends' fathers that wrote the book, so I wanted to just support him. I also wanted to get my stepdad, who's a Christian, a book that he might enjoy. So, um, I thought it was cool because my friend and I we'd known each other for like a decade before we realized that, her dad and my grandfather had known each other from church, and I live just right down the street from, uh, the cemetery where my family's interned, and, it just feels really like an interesting and nice connection, even though I don't take, um, my faith, quite as, structured as some that are members of different churches. I really respect people's different points of view, because I think, um, when you look at the Bible as a potential historic record, whether or not all the facts line up, um, even to be able to prove them at all. Whatever you might say about it, um, it's such an important part of our historical record to recognize, um, people's different relationships with religion. It's such a part of our culture and what shapes our world. And so I've always found that fascinating. And there was a time when I wanted to go to, um, a Lutheran college up in Washington. I wanted to go to Pacific Lutheran because I kinda had a crush on a guy that was from church that was going up there, and, so that was one of my considerations, um, but I really loved going through the Lutheran, confirmation process. I went through it when I was a little bit older. I was about 2 years older than, um, the kids' usual timeline, but, yeah, when I was in high school, I was lucky to have a nice little youth group, and we weren't angels, but, um, it was nice to have something to cling on to, besides being, like, completely faithless, um, atheist or whatever, and, growing up in Salt Lake, even now, there's still a lot of pressure, um, to be a part of the majority religion, and so I think I was always really naive as to how I was perceived as an outsider, and, sometimes, people would say, "Oh, well, you're easy to assume that you're Mormon," and I thought that was so funny because I was like, "Oh, why? Because I'm nice," you know? Um, but, yeah, I had, like, boys in high school, I had one boy, that I dated briefly, um, give me a Book of Mormon, and other, like, friends' parents say, "Oh, well, we'll have you converted," and I was always turned off by that because I thought, "Well, why don't you ask me about my faith?" You know? Um, and I think my faith has definitely evolved, but, lately, as corny as it sounds, I've been, um, finding so much of this it's this feeling of comfort and joy from just looking around and appreciating what's there. Like, I saw a duck in the canal today, some kind of bird, some kind of water bird, and I thought, "Oh, that's so cute because this bird, it's warm enough to be in flowing water," and those are the moments where I just count my blessings that I'm not freezing, that my lights aren't off, that my whole town isn't in blackout, um, and sub-zero temperatures. So, uh, yeah, as we have Christmas coming around the corner and I have a mixed bag family, um, with lots of different beliefs and, I'm just grateful that, I'm feeling some peace and love and that kind of spirit of going through the dark, dark night and, looking forward to the longer days ahead. Um, so yeah, the solstice time, the shortest day of the year, I'll never forget riding up on a ski lift with my grandfather years ago, and it was December 21st, and he said, "Did you know today's the shortest day of the year?" And, so it's nice to have those little flickers of memory, so I just wanted to get on, say hi, share some of my, love and joy and appreciation. I made like $100 last week because it was so snowy, I could hardly work, and I'm grateful I got any work at all. But then this week, I got like $100 in tips in one day. So that kind of stuff, it seems really meager and small, but at the same time, it's like huge. It's everything, and I'm so grateful that my husband's going to school right now, so he's really motivated and excited to get a new job. He's going through a program that um, one of his friends went through, and I got the biggest kick out of this because I always supported my husband doing his thing. I always wanted to do my thing and work a lot, and so. Um, I've never really pressured him to, like, be the sole breadwinner or anything like that, but, um, when I had to back out of working in broadcasting and doing my TV jobs for various reasons, um, he stepped up. I had about 6 months where I didn't do any work outside the home at all, and then I took on my new job, and I'm able to support us while he goes to school. So, I just think it's amazing how life throws us all kinds of shit, and somehow we come out the other side, and we can still laugh, and, we can appreciate what we do have. So, yeah, I do believe God loves us more than we know, and I do think that sounds a little corny, but, um, that's the message that I wanna share. So, this is my channel, and thanks for listening to me, and I wish you the best. I'm gonna get on and do another talk tomorrow, hopefully, um, but, CJ, it's so good to have you and stop by, and anyone that watches on a replay, thank you so much. Have a good night.